the cold concrete pressed against my cheek when consciousness finally dragged me back from the dark. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. The air smelled of rust, gasoline, and something damp, like forgotten rainwater trapped in a leaking ceiling. My wrists burned from the zip ties cutting into my skin. My heart, fragile since childhood, thudded against my ribs in uneven beats. I tried to lift my head, but a sharp sting shot through my temple. Warm blood trickled down the side of my face. My vision pulsed in and out, shapes blurring into shadows that moved along the walls. Someone was breathing nearby, low, heavy, waiting. Then I remembered. The Plaza Hotel. The ivory wedding gown. Grant's smile, smooth, rehearsed, way too perfect. The parking garage. The footsteps behind me. The gloved hand over my mouth. Panic hit like a tidal wave. My fingers brushed against a familiar shape inside my coat pocket, my phone. They must have missed it when dragging me here. With trembling hands, I inched it out, praying the screen wasn't cracked. When it lit up, the soft glow felt like salvation. My fiancé would come for me. Grant always knew what to do. Grant always had a plan. I dialed him with shaking fingers. The first ring echoed across the empty warehouse like a warning. The second ring made one of the shadows shift. A man. Watching me. The third ring sent a cold gust of terror up my spine. Then the line clicked. "Avery! Where are you?" Grant's voice was sharp, irritated, like I had bothered him during a meeting. I choked on a sob. "Grant, please, help me. I've been taken. I don't know where I am. I'm scared." A pause. Not panic, not fear, annoyance. "How much do they want?" he muttered. I flinched. "What? I don't know. Please, talk to them. Save me." Footsteps approached. A gloved hand grabbed my hair, yanking the phone from me. A man's voice replaced mine, deep and cold. "We said 500 grand. No police. You have 1 hour." There was a stretch of silence on the other end. Then Grant exhaled, bored, almost amused. "She's not worth the price," he said. "Just kill her." The world stopped. The kidnapper blinked, stunned by the words. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Even the air froze. But inside me, something shattered so violently I felt it in my bones. Grant's voice continued, calm and distant, like he was ordering a coffee. "I'll handle the rest. Do what you want with her." The call ended. My fiancé. The man I was supposed to marry in less than 48 hours. The man who held my heart, my trust, my future, had just signed my death sentence. Tears blurred my vision as the phone fell to the floor. Across the room, the man holding it stared at me with new eyes, calculating, uncertain. And then he said something that made my blood turn to ice. "Looks like your fiancé wants you gone. Now we have a bigger problem." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened the way it used to during my childhood heart episodes, sharp electric pressure rolling beneath my ribs. But the warehouse faded, replaced by a memory so bright it felt like punishment. Just 8 hours earlier, sunlight had poured through the tall windows of the bridal suite at the Plaza Hotel. The room smelled like polished marble and fresh peonies, and my wedding gown shimmered across the couch like a quiet promise. I'd stood in front of the mirror, brushing my hair with trembling hands, whispering to myself that everything would finally be okay. Grant had said the wedding would stabilize our future, though I never truly understood what he meant. He always spoke in code, phrases that sounded like affection but felt like strategy. I thought it was the stress of his company going public. I thought he needed me. God, I was blind. I remembered how he'd shown up that morning in a tailored charcoal suit, the Manhattan skyline reflecting off his Rolex. He didn't kiss me. He didn't tell me I looked beautiful. He only glanced at my dress before checking his phone again and again, like something, or someone, was more important. "Don't be late to the rehearsal dinner," he had said. His tone clipped, his eyes already tracking something behind me. "This wedding is bigger than both of us, Avery. You understand that, right?" I laughed nervously and nodded, thinking he meant family expectations or the press coverage. I wanted so badly to be the supportive fiancé. The easy one. The one he'd be proud to marry. My phone buzzed as he walked out. A message from Landon, my childhood friend. "Avery, you okay? Something feels off. Call me if you need anything. Seriously." I almost replied. Almost told him about the strange argument Grant and I had the night before, when he'd grabbed my arm too hard and accused me of ruining everything because I'd questioned a wire transfer he refused to explain. But I convinced myself it was stress. I convinced myself Grant loved me. Now, his voice declaring my life worthless echoed through my skull like a blade. Back in the warehouse, I blinked hard, dragging myself out of the memory, because the man who'd answered my call, the one who had yanked the phone from the kidnapper's hand, was stepping closer with a look that chilled me to the bone. And he wasn't smiling. The man stepped into the thin strip of light leaking from the broken window. His boots were heavy, his shoulders broad, and a jagged scar crossed his jaw like a crooked signature. He looked at me the way someone studies a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. "You really thought he'd pay for you?" he asked. "Seriously?" His voice snapped something inside me. A cold tremor rippled through my limbs. I wanted to scream that Grant loved me, that he cared, that he'd built a future for us. But the words wouldn't come. They felt foolish now, childish, like believing in fairy tales long after the magic had already died. Because deep down, I had seen the warning signs. I'd just buried them. The first red flag appeared months earlier, so small I dismissed it. We were having dinner at a quiet Italian place near Central Park. I had spent the day coordinating a chaotic conference, exhausted but excited to see him. When I told him I wanted to take time off after the wedding to rest my heart condition, Grant didn't look concerned. He looked irritated. "We don't have time for you to be fragile, Avery," he'd said, swirling his wine. "You need to learn to push through it." Fragile. The word stung even then. But when he touched my hand afterward, offering a smooth apology, I let it go. I always let it go. Then there was the night he stayed out until 3 a.m., claiming it was a board emergency. His suit smelled like perfume I didn't own. He said I was imagining it. He said stress made women paranoid. I believed him. I believed everything. Because loving Grant felt like standing on the edge of a rooftop, terrifying, yet impossible to step away from. Now, tied to a metal chair in a freezing warehouse, I saw the truth I refused to see. He hadn't chosen me for love. He'd chosen me for convenience, something to leverage, something to own. The scarred kidnapper crouched in front of me, his eyes narrowing. "You know what the funniest part is?" he said quietly. "He told us you'd go quietly. He said you're obedient." A flush of humiliation burned down my spine. Obedient. A word I never knew he attached to me, and now it felt like a chain. My pulse pounded. My heart fluttered erratically, warning me I was minutes from collapsing. But before panic could swallow me, the warehouse door groaned open. Another man stepped inside, and the look in his eyes told me my nightmare was only getting started. The warehouse door slammed shut, echoing like a gunshot through the hollow space. The scarred kidnapper straightened, tension rippling across his shoulders. My pulse spiked. Every instinct told me the man who had just entered was worse, much worse. He moved with quiet purpose, the kind of calm that made danger feel inevitable. Tall, lean, wrapped in a black jacket dusted with snowflakes, he had the coldest eyes I'd ever seen. Not cruel, calculating. A man who didn't react to threats because he was the threat. His gaze landed on me first, lingering just long enough for a chill to climb my spine. Then he looked at the scarred man. "Where's the phone?" he asked, voice low, even. The scarred man handed it over, like a child caught stealing. The newcomer listened to the last seconds of the call, Grant's voice distant and venomous. "She's not worth the price. Just kill her." For a moment, the newcomer went still. No blink, no breath. Then he exhaled through his nose, annoyed. "So he really said it." He pocketed the phone. Idiotic. My throat tightened. Who are you? He finally looked at me again, expression unreadable. The man your fiancé hired to clean up his mess. My blood ran cold. Not just kidnappers, not just ransom. Grant had created all of this. I don't understand, I whispered. He stepped closer, studying the fading bruise on my temple, the trembling in my hands, the way my breath snagged from the pain in my chest. You weren't supposed to call him, he said simply. You were supposed to disappear quietly, quick and clean. Disappear. Quick and clean. My stomach twisted violently. But now, he crouched so his face was level with mine. Now we have a complication. I tried to lean away, but the chair wouldn't budge. The scarred man shifted nervously behind him. What complication? His voice cracked slightly. The newcomer didn't look away from me when he answered. She's alive. The words hung in the cold air like smoke. Alive, meaning not in the plan. Alive, meaning a liability. Alive, meaning disposable. I felt my heart flutter wildly, skipping beats. Not now. Please God, not now. The newcomer noticed instantly, his brow tightening. Heart issue? I swallowed hard. Yes, congenital. A slow exhale. Not sympathy, calculation. Then we need to hurry, he said, standing. To kill me? I choked out. He paused at the door, glancing back over his shoulder. No, he said. To decide whether you're worth more dead or alive. My pulse hammered unevenly, the familiar fluttering beneath my ribs worsening as panic tightened its grip. The newcomer, the one Grant had hired, walked a slow circle around me, boots scraping against the concrete. Every step echoed like a countdown. The scarred man leaned against a metal pillar, arms crossed, looking pale under the flickering light. He kept glancing between me and the newcomer, as if waiting for orders he wasn't sure he wanted to follow. The newcomer finally spoke. Grant wants this done clean, he said. No struggle, no trail. His eyes drifted to my throat, my wrists, the bruises. But he also didn't expect her to call. She panicked, the scarred man muttered. Anyone would. He panicked, the newcomer corrected. Only a guilty man sounds that calm when he says kill her. Hearing it again made my stomach twist violently. I forced myself to breathe, even though each inhale felt like broken glass. The newcomer crouched in front of me again, resting his forearm on his knee. What did he promise you? He asked quietly. Money? A future? A place in his perfect little world? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. What had Grant promised? Stability? Safety? Love? Conditional love, I realized now. He said I mattered, I whispered. The newcomer huffed, a sound somewhere between disbelief and dark amusement. To a man like him? Nobody matters. He stood and snapped his fingers at the scarred man. Bring the bag. The scarred man hesitated. You're really gonna do it? I didn't come all the way from Midtown to host a debate. His voice cut like steel. Bring the bag. As the scarred man disappeared behind a stack of crates, the newcomer turned to me again. Here's how this works, he said. You don't scream, you don't run, and you don't try to play brave. My hands trembled uncontrollably. Are you going to kill me? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he checked his watch, a sleek black face glinting in the cold light. We'll decide that after we call him back. My heart skipped violently, a painful jolt shooting through my chest. Call Grant? He needs to confirm the order, the newcomer said. You'd be surprised how often men change their minds when there's blood involved. The scarred man returned with a black duffel bag. But before the newcomer could open it, his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. His expression changed. Not anger, not irritation, interest. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a murmur. Well, this changes everything. The newcomer stared at the buzzing phone with an expression I couldn't decipher. Something sharp, alert, almost amused. The scarred man shifted nervously, glancing at me like he expected me to vanish if he blinked too long. Finally, the newcomer answered. Yeah? His tone was clipped, professional. A voice on the other end spoke fast, too low for me to hear, but whatever was said made the newcomer's jaw tighten. His eyes flicked toward me again, then toward the door as if assessing exits or new threats. Are you sure? The newcomer asked quietly. Positive? Another muffled reply. Then he exhaled, slow and deliberate, the kind of breath someone takes when a plan changes dramatically. Fine, he said. We adjust. He hung up. The warehouse felt suddenly smaller, colder, like the walls themselves were leaning in to listen. The scarred man swallowed hard. What was that? The newcomer didn't answer immediately. Instead, he studied me with a new intensity, like I'd shifted from target to asset, or maybe to problem. Finally, he spoke. Grant filed a report, he said. An hour ago. My stomach clenched. Report? He nodded once. He told the police you ran away, that you cracked under stress, disappeared with one of your ex-boyfriends, and might be emotionally unstable. The words hit like a punch to the chest. No, I whispered. He wouldn't. But he would. And he had. The newcomer continued, voice flat. He also sent them a message thread, manufactured, obviously, where you supposedly admit to wanting to escape the wedding. The scarred man cursed under his breath. That means the cops won't be looking for her. Exactly, the newcomer said. He's covering his tracks, making her look unreliable, unpredictable. They'll assume she took off on her own. For a moment, the world tilted. The floor felt unsteady beneath me. Grant hadn't just abandoned me. He was erasing me. The newcomer crouched again, his face inches from mine, eyes steady. So now, he said quietly, you're not just a loose end. My breath hitched. You're a liability. The scarred man shook his head. We didn't sign up for killing someone the cops aren't even searching for. This is bad business, man. The newcomer ignored him, pulling a knife from the duffel, sharp, reflective, clinical. My pulse spiked violently. He turned the blade slowly in his hand, but instead of raising it toward me, he cut the zip tie around my left wrist. A clean slice. Freedom. Get up, he said. I froze. Why? He leaned in, voice low, dangerous. Because someone just offered a much bigger price to keep you alive. My legs refused to move at first. Even with one hand free, my body felt frozen, locked somewhere between terror and confusion. The newcomer, this man Grant trusted to erase me, grabbed my arm and hauled me upright with surprising care, like he didn't want me to break before he understood my value. The scarred man stared at us, wide-eyed. Who the hell would pay more to keep her alive? The newcomer kept his grip firm around my elbow. Someone with deeper pockets than Grant, and a much better reason. Who? I whispered, voice cracking. He didn't answer. Instead, he guided me across the concrete floor, away from the metal chair that had become my prison. Every step sent a sharp jolt through my chest, my heart fluttering in painful, uneven beats. Slow down, I gasped. Can't, he said flatly. If someone put a price on your life, someone else might have put a price on your death. The scarred man flinched. We're not built for a crossfire situation. No one asked you to be built for anything, the newcomer shot back. You follow orders. I stumbled, my knees threatening to give out. He steadied me with one arm, strong, steady, almost gentle, and that frightened me even more. Why was a man capable of killing me suddenly protecting me? Who paid you? I asked again. This time he looked at me, really looked, and something shifted in his expression, a flicker of recognition, of calculation. He slid his phone from his pocket and held it out so I could see the most recent message. A name appeared on the screen. Landon Reyes. My breath caught. My childhood friend. The boy who used to walk me home after school. The one person who always sensed something was wrong long before I admitted it. Oh my God, I whispered. Landon, He's looking for me? He wired a large sum, the newcomer said. No negotiation, no questions, just one instruction: keep you alive. Emotion surged so suddenly my knees buckled again, but he caught me before I hit the floor. The scarred man spoke up, voice shaking. So, what now? New plan? The newcomer turned toward him, his decision sharp as a blade. We move her! Somewhere Grant can't reach. My heart pounded. Where are you taking me? He holstered a weapon beneath his jacket, then met my eyes with chilling certainty. To the one man willing to risk everything to save you. The newcomer, who hadn't given me his name, tightened his grip on my arm as we moved toward the back of the warehouse. The scarred man followed a few steps behind, glancing over his shoulder like he expected Grant himself to burst through the door at any moment. The freezing air seeped through the thin fabric of my dress, biting at my skin. My legs trembled, not just from cold, but from the lingering shock of everything I had learned. Landon had paid to keep me alive. Grant had paid to make me disappear. 2 men, 2 prices, one fighting to protect me, one trying to erase me. Where are you taking me? I asked again, breathless. A safe vehicle, the newcomer replied. And don't talk, your voice echoes. He pushed open a rusted metal door, revealing a snow-covered alley behind the building. The night air slapped my face, sharp and brutal. Snowflakes swirled beneath a flickering streetlight, giving the alley an eerie, dreamlike glow. A black SUV idled behind a dumpster, engine humming softly. The windows were tinted so dark, it looked like a block of ink sitting in the snow. The scarred man hesitated. Man, we're crossing a line. You know that, right? Whitmore isn't gonna let this go. The newcomer shot him a look that could have frozen the whole block. Whitmore lost his leverage the second he gave her up. He doesn't know she's worth more alive. Worth more to who? I whispered. He didn't answer. Again. But he guided me toward the SUV with surprising steadiness, as if he feared I might fall. My legs wobbled, the cold making my joints stiff. My heart fluttered weakly. A painful reminder of how fragile I truly was. The moment we reached the door, he paused. Do you know Landon well? He asked suddenly. I blinked. The question felt out of place, almost personal. We grew up together, I said softly. He was one of the good ones. A strange flicker crossed his face, gone too fast to interpret. He opened the SUV door. Warm air rushed out, fogging the icy night for a heartbeat. I climbed in, hugging my arms around myself. The scarred man slid into the passenger seat while the newcomer took the wheel. As the SUV pulled away from the alley, I felt something shifting, an invisible current in the air, like the moment before lightning strikes. We weren't running from danger anymore. We were heading straight toward it. And the newcomer's final words before merging onto the highway carved themselves into my spine. Whitmore isn't the only one hunting you tonight. Snow blurred against the windows as the SUV sped through the industrial outskirts of Queens, tires hissing over slush. I kept glancing behind us, half expecting Grant's men to burst out of the darkness in another vehicle. Every passing streetlight flashed across the newcomer's sharp profile, revealing nothing. No fear, no hesitation, no humanity I could read. He drove like he'd memorized every alley and shortcut in New York. The scarred man in the passenger seat kept tapping his knee. This doesn't feel right, he muttered. We should have stayed low. Moving her? It's a big risk. Doing nothing was a bigger one, the newcomer replied. I sat in the back, hugging myself for warmth, throat tight. Where are we going? He didn't answer at first. Instead, he checked the rearview mirror twice. His eyes narrowed. Someone's following, he said. My blood turned to ice. Grant? Probably not. He thinks you'll be gone before morning. He pressed harder on the gas. But the NYPD? They love missing brides. They'll try to pin something on someone if they smell chaos. Chaos. That was all my life had become. The SUV swerved sharply, diving into a narrow side street. Snow kicked up behind us, swallowing our tracks. My heart raced too fast, skipping irregular beats. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to steady it. "Keep breathing," the scarred man said without turning around. "Slow, in and out." His awkward concern surprised me more than anything else tonight. The newcomer spoke suddenly. "They're gaining." "Who?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he killed the headlights, jerked the wheel, and plunged the SUV down a ramp into an underground service tunnel beneath an abandoned loading dock. Darkness swallowed us whole. Only the soft glow of the dashboard lit his face, focused, unshakable. Then a loud bang echoed behind us. Something, or someone, had hit the tunnel entrance. The SUV shuddered. "They found us!" the scarred man hissed. "No," the newcomer said, narrowing his eyes as he watched the rear camera feed. "Not police." On the tiny screen, headlights approached, steady, confident, almost leisurely. And then my heart nearly stopped, because I recognized the car. Grant's black Bentley. The newcomer muttered a curse. He moved faster than I thought. The scarred man spun around in his seat. "What do we do now?" The newcomer's jaw clenched. "We buy time." He slammed the SUV into a hard right turn, sending us deeper into the tunnel. Then he added, voice low, "And pray Landon gets to the meeting point before Whitmore does." The SUV roared deeper into the tunnel, the sound bouncing off the concrete walls like a trapped heartbeat. I gripped the seat in front of me, knuckles white, every sharp turn jarring my already bruised body. My heart thudded erratically, too fast, then suddenly too slow. One bad hit of panic, and it could stop altogether. The newcomer, hands steady on the wheel, jaw clenched, didn't dare slow down. The scarred man twisted around, eyes darting between me and the rear camera feed. "Bentley's still on us. He's pushing harder." The newcomer let out a humorless breath. "He wants to finish the job himself." A wave of nausea rolled through me. Grant, my fiancé. The man who held my hand through hospital nights. The man who whispered promises against my hair. The man who lied with tenderness, so practiced it felt like truth. He was hunting me. "What does he want?" I whispered. "Why is he doing this?" The newcomer didn't glance back. "Your leverage, or you were, until you weren't useful anymore." "And now?" My voice cracked. He tightened his grip on the wheel. "Now he wants to erase the loose ends." A shiver ripped through me as another loud clang sounded. Grant's Bentley scraping the tunnel's walls to stay on us. He didn't care about wrecking it. He didn't care about anything except catching me. The tunnel opened into a larger underground service area. The newcomer braked hard, tires screaming as we fishtailed into the open space. He cut the engine and spun around to face the scarred man. "Go with her," he said. "Get to the stairs on the north side. If Whitmore gets past me, you run." The scarred man stared like he'd misheard. "You're gonna hold him off alone?" The newcomer unlocked something beneath his seat. A weapon glinted in the dim light. "I only need a minute." My breath caught. "He'll kill you." He looked at me then. Really looked. Not like a target, not like a paycheck, but like a person he wasn't expecting to care about. I've dealt with worse men than Whitmore. Headlights flooded the tunnel entrance. The Bentley surged forward, engine snarling. The newcomer shoved the door open. "Go!" The scarred man grabbed my arm as the newcomer stepped out of the SUV, gun drawn, shoulders squared. And then I heard his voice, Grant's voice, echoing through the tunnel, dripping with venomous certainty. "Avery isn't leaving here alive." Grant's voice echoed through the concrete cavern, sharp and venomous, bouncing off the walls like a ricochet meant only for my fear. "Avery isn't leaving here alive." The scarred man dragged me toward the far staircase, but my legs kept locking, refusing to move fast enough. My heart thudded unevenly, squeezing painfully beneath my ribs. Every beat felt like it could be the one that broke. Behind us, the newcomer stood between the SUV and the approaching Bentley, gun gripped in one hand, body angled like he'd calculated every possible outcome. The Bentley screeched to a stop. Its headlights cut two blinding white paths across the tunnel dust. Grant stepped out, his once polished suit rumpled, his expression twisted, not with grief or fear, but rage. A wild, unhinged rage. "You had one job," Grant shouted at the newcomer. "Where the hell do you think you're taking her?" The newcomer didn't flinch. "Somewhere you can't." His voice was calm, deadly calm. Grant laughed, a sharp, manic bark. "You're making a mistake. You think Reyes can pay you more than I can?" He already did. The smile froze on Grant's face. And then he lunged. A gunshot ripped through the tunnel, sharp, deafening. My ears rang. For a second, I didn't know who fired. Smoke curled through the air. Then I saw it. A bullet pinged off the ground inches from the newcomer's foot. Grant had shot first. The newcomer reacted like lightning. He grabbed a metal crate with his free hand and used it as cover, firing a warning shot that shattered the Bentley's side mirror. Glass rained across the concrete. "Move!" the scarred man hissed, pulling me harder. But I couldn't stop looking. Grant was screaming now, voice cracking with fury. "She was supposed to disappear quietly. I gave you everything you asked for." "You gave me a job," the newcomer replied, stepping out from cover with terrifying precision. "Not loyalty." Grant's hand shook as he aimed again. "I'll finish it myself." Another shot. Sparks burst from a pipe overhead. The scarred man shoved me behind a concrete pillar. My heart thudded violently, struggling to keep pace with the terror ripping through me. Then I saw Grant's eyes, wild, bloodshot, fixed solely on me. He lowered his aim. "Say goodbye, Avery." Before he could pull the trigger, the newcomer tackled him, slamming him against the Bentley with a force that echoed like thunder. The gun clattered to the floor. Grant roared. And the newcomer growled back, "She's not yours to kill." Grant and the newcomer crashed against the Bentley with a metallic thud that shook the entire tunnel. The scarred man yanked me backward, trying to pull me toward the staircase, but I couldn't stop staring. My entire world, every lie, every truth, every betrayal, was unfolding right in front of me, violently and unmistakably real. Grant fought like a man who had nothing left to lose. He slammed his elbow into the newcomer's ribs, forcing him back a step. The newcomer gritted his teeth, absorbing the hit, then retaliated with a punch that split Grant's lip and sent blood spraying. "You were supposed to handle her clean," Grant spat, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "Now look what you've done. You think Reyes can protect her?" "He couldn't protect her then. He won't protect her now." The words sliced through me. Then? What did he mean? Then? The newcomer stilled for half a second. A dangerous stillness. "What did you just say?" he asked low, almost too quiet. Grant sneered. "Oh, she didn't tell you. Of course she didn't. She can't even remember." My heart stuttered, skipping a beat so violently I had to grip the pillar for balance. "Grant, stop!" I whispered, shaking. But he didn't. He lunged toward the newcomer again, fury twisting his face. "Ask her about the accident. Ask her why she has that heart condition in the first place. Ask her who caused it." The world tilted. The scarred man froze. The newcomer froze. My knees buckled. What? Accident?" My voice was barely a breath. Grant laughed, a cracked, jagged sound. "She doesn't know, does she?" "Of course she doesn't. Her precious childhood friend never told her." He leaned forward, eyes burning with sick satisfaction. "Reyes is the reason you almost died at 17. The words hit so hard my vision flashed white. "No," I croaked. "That's not true. Landon, he wasn't—" "He caused the crash," Grant hissed, each word deliberate. "The one that damaged your heart permanently. The one that killed the other driver." I felt the scarred man stiffen beside me. The newcomer's jaw clenched, muscles twitching like he was restraining something vicious. Grant smirked, savoring every second. "He's been trying to protect you ever since, out of guilt, not love." My chest seized. The air refused to enter my lungs. The newcomer turned his head slowly, toward me, And the look in his eyes wasn't cold anymore. It was haunted. My legs went numb. The tunnel spun around me in slow, nauseating circles. The scarred man tightened his grip on my arm just to keep me standing, but his face had gone pale too, like even he knew Grant had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. The newcomer, still holding Grant pinned against the Bentley, didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't even breathe. His jaw flexed once, a tiny movement loaded with something volatile. I forced air into my lungs. "He's lying," I whispered. "Grant lies. That's what he does." Grant laughed through his split lip. "Believe whatever makes you feel better, sweetheart. But Reyes, he's not your hero. He's the reason you spent a year in the hospital." My stomach lurched. "Stop! The reason your heart will never beat right again." My pulse stuttered painfully, like it wanted to prove him right. The newcomer finally spoke, voice low, gravel sharp. "Avery, he's twisting it." Twisting, not denying. A cold wave swept through me. "What is he talking about?" My voice trembled. "Tell me he's lying. Tell me he's making it up." The newcomer closed his eyes, only for a second. But it was enough. My heart dropped. Grant sneered. "Go on. Tell her. Tell her how you were racing that night. How you lost control. How you begged the police to blame the snow instead of you." "Shut up!" the newcomer snapped, tightening his grip around Grant's collar. Grant pushed further. "Tell her how you followed her family car after school. How the crash mangled her chest. How you watched them pull her out while you ran." The tunnel rang with silence. Something cracked inside me, softly, like thin glass breaking under pressure. "No." My voice was barely a whisper. That wasn't you. Landon would never." The newcomer finally looked at me, and this time I saw pain. Real pain, regret, guilt carved into every tense line of his face. "Avery," he said quietly, "I never meant to hurt you." My breath hitched. "So it's true?" He swallowed, throat tight. Not the way he told it. But yes, I was there. The world tilted sideways. Grant's triumphant smile widened. "And now you know why he's been hovering around you your whole life." I shook my head, tears burning hot down my cheeks. "You were supposed to be my friend." The newcomer's voice broke, barely audible. "I've spent every day trying to make up for what I destroyed." And then, before I could speak, another sound echoed down the tunnel. Footsteps, getting closer. The footsteps echoed through the tunnel, slow, deliberate, heavy enough to make every nerve in my body snap to attention. The scarred man stiffened beside me, one hand drifting toward the waistband of his jeans, where a weapon was probably hidden. I clung to the concrete pillar, breathing in shallow, uneven bursts as my heart pounded painfully, reminding me of the damage, the history, the truth I'd just heard. The newcomer, Landon, though he still felt like a stranger, kept Grant pinned with one forearm across his chest. But his eyes were locked on me, raw with something I couldn't name. Regret? Pain? A plea for forgiveness? It didn't matter. Nothing made sense anymore. "Landon!" My voice broke. "Tell me what happened. The real story." He swallowed hard, jaw clenching. "Not here." "Here," I insisted, tears streaking down my cheeks. "Tell me now," Grant cackled, delighted. "Go on, Reyes. Confess. You've been waiting 17 years. Landon slammed Grant harder against the Bentley, knocking the breath out of him. "Shut up." The footsteps drew closer, still hidden in the shadows, but I couldn't focus on them, not when the truth was about to rip through me like shrapnel. Landon finally spoke, voice low, shaking despite his control. "I wasn't racing. That part is a lie. I was following you, yes." His eyes flickered to mine. "Your parents didn't want you hanging around me. They thought I was trouble. I wanted to prove them wrong." My chest tightened. Tears blurred the tunnel into streaks of gray. "I saw you crossing the street. I tried to wave. Your father turned to look at me." Landon's voice cracked. "A truck came around the corner too fast. I shouted, but..." He hesitated, breath trembling. Grant smirked. He pushed you, Avery, right into the car. Landon's voice cut in, sharp, desperate. To get you out of the truck's path. I wasn't thinking. I reacted. I grabbed you and shoved you towards safety. Your dad pulled you back and... He stopped. My whole world stopped. And the car hit him instead, Landon whispered. Then swerved. Then hit you both. My legs buckled. The scarred man caught me before I crumpled. His voice was oddly gentle. Easy. Landon's expression was agony. I stayed. I called for help. I held your hand until the ambulance came. But your relatives, they blamed me, and I didn't fight it. I thought, I deserved it. Grant laughed again, dark and bitter. He's been repenting ever since. The footsteps stopped. A figure stepped into the dim light, and my blood ran cold. The figure stepped fully into the light, and every muscle in my body locked. I didn't recognize him, not his face, not his stance, not the cold authority emanating from him, but the scarred man reacted instantly, straightening like a soldier caught off guard. Boss? He whispered. Boss? The newcomer, Landon, shifted his weight, still pinning Grant with one arm, but even he seemed unnerved. His jaw tightened, his posture coiled, ready for whatever came next. The man was tall, clean-cut, wearing a charcoal coat that probably cost more than my monthly rent back when my life was normal. His hair was graying at the temples. His eyes, sharp, assessing, moved from me to Landon to Grant and back again. So, the stranger said, voice calm as a storm building offshore, this is the mess I was told about. Grant spat blood onto the concrete. Who the hell are you? The stranger didn't look at him. He looked at me. Avery Collins, he said quietly. I've been looking for you. My breath vanished. Why? He reached into his coat. The scarred man tensed. Landon's grip on Grant tightened. But the stranger didn't pull out a weapon. He pulled out a thick envelope. For 17 years, he continued, I've held on to something your family didn't want you to see. But considering the circus happening down here, I think it's time. Landon went still, so still it scared me. Grant's sneer faltered. What is that? I asked, voice shaking. The stranger offered the envelope, but Landon stepped forward protectively, blocking me with his body. Don't, he warned. Not here, not like this. The stranger raised an eyebrow. You've had 17 years to tell her the truth. You didn't. The tension snapped like a live wire. What truth? I whispered. Tell me. The stranger's gaze softened. Just a fraction. Your father didn't die on impact. My knees buckled again. Landon grabbed my arm, steadying me. That is not the place. He lived long enough, the stranger continued, overriding him, to say something to the first responder. Landon's jaw clenched painfully. Stop! The stranger looked at him with quiet disapproval. She has the right to know. Every heartbeat slammed like a hammer. What did my father say? I choked. The stranger placed the envelope in my trembling hands. His answer was a whisper. He said your accident wasn't an accident. The tunnel erupted in silence, so heavy it felt like the air froze. And then, the lights above us flickered. Someone else was coming. The lights flickered again, once, twice, before humming back to life with a low electrical buzz. Everyone froze. Even Grant stopped struggling under Landon's grip, his breaths coming in ragged bursts. The stranger who'd handed me the envelope didn't move, didn't flinch. He simply watched the shadows at the far end of the tunnel, as though he already knew what was coming. The scarred man muttered under his breath, This night just keeps getting better. My hands shook violently around the envelope. The corners dug into my skin, grounding me in a reality I wanted to run from, but couldn't escape. My father's last words. My accident. Not an accident. The weight of the tunnel pressed in on me as if the truth alone could crush me. Footsteps echoed, lighter, quicker than before. Landon stiffened. Avery, stay behind me. but my eyes remained locked on the envelope. My father had spoken before he died. For 17 years, someone had kept that message away from me. Someone had made sure I never knew. My voice cracked. Why would anyone want to hurt me? The stranger answered, gaze still fixed on the approaching shadow. Your father uncovered something in his firm, something meant to be buried. His car wasn't targeted by chance. It was meant to look like reckless driving. My throat closed. Because of his work? Because of the money involved, the stranger said quietly. Millions, maybe more. Grant scoffed, bitter and shaking. Oh, please, not everything revolves around you. The stranger finally looked at him. In this case, it does. Another figure stepped into the light. A woman. Tall, dressed in a tailored coat, heels clicking against the concrete with cold confidence. Her hair was pulled into a tight chignon, her expression composed, lethal. Grant's bloodied face went pale. No, absolutely not, he sputtered. You're supposed to be in D.C. The woman ignored him completely. Her eyes landed on me, sharp, assessing, calculating. Avery Collins, she said. I've been waiting a long time to meet you. Landon stepped between us. Not happening. Her smile was chilling. Relax, Mr. Reyes. If I wanted her dead, she'd already be gone. My pulse stuttered. Who are you? I demanded. She took one slow step forward. I'm the reason your father died, she said. And the reason Grant's been trying to finish what I started. The tunnel spun. Grant cursed under his breath. And the woman's next words shattered what little remained of my world. Your family's fortune wasn't stolen. It was hidden, and you're the only heir left. The tunnel tilted beneath my feet. My pulse hammered painfully. Each beat a frantic reminder that my heart was still fragile, still marked by an accident that was no accident. The woman's heels clicked closer, each step slicing through the silence. The scarred man muttered a curse. Grant pressed back against the Bentley, shaking his head like he could undo the truth by rejecting it. You're lying, I whispered. I don't have a family fortune. I barely had money for rent. The woman's smile sharpened. Exactly. That was the point. Landon moved closer, positioning himself between us. His voice was ice. She's not getting near her. The woman arched a brow. You think I'm here to kill her? If that's what I wanted, I would have kept driving. I swallowed hard. Then why are you here? Her gaze softened, barely. To finish what your father started. And to stop Grant from taking what doesn't belong to him. Grant's voice cracked. I promised you leverage, she snapped. Not power. Her attention returned to me. Your father discovered fraud inside Whitmore Holdings 17 years ago. He intended to expose it and lock your inheritance into a trust only you could unlock at 25. My heart stuttered. Inheritance? A large one, she said. Enough to destroy the men who tried to bury it. Grant's face twisted with rage. She wasn't supposed to know any of this. This wasn't the plan. The woman shot him a look that made him shrink. The plan changed when you got sloppy, when you hired amateurs. She nodded toward the scarred man and Landon. And when Reyes got involved? Landon's jaw flexed, but he said nothing. I clutched the envelope, its edges digging into my palms. Why now? Why reveal this now? She tilted her head. Because tonight, you survived something you weren't meant to walk away from, and that means you deserve the truth. The scarred man exhaled shakily. So what, you're gonna hand her millions and walk out? The woman smirked. Oh, she'll get every cent. After she chooses what to do with this, she pointed to the envelope. And with him. Her gaze sliced toward Grant. Grant erupted. You can't do this. I built everything. You deserve prison, she said calmly. And you'll get it. Then she turned to Landon. Get her out of here. Now. Landon didn't hesitate. But when he reached for me, Grant lunged. Not at me. At the envelope. Grant launched himself toward me with a snarl. Fingers clawing for the envelope like it held the last piece of sanity he had left. His shoes skidded across the concrete, the force of his movement so desperate it seemed almost feral. "No!" he roared. "You don't get to see that?" Landon reacted first, shoving me behind him so fast my back hit the cold tunnel wall. The scarred man lunged at Grant from the side, trying to intercept, but Grant fought like a man who'd burned every bridge and finally understood it. He slammed his shoulder into the scarred man, sending him crashing into a stack of metal crates. The clatter echoed through the tunnel like thunder. The envelope slipped from my trembling hands. It fluttered, once, twice, before hitting the ground between us. Grant dove for it. Landon grabbed his jacket collar and yanked him back, the two men colliding in a violent tangle. Grant twisted, throwing a wild punch that grazed Landon's jaw. Landon retaliated with a strike to Grant's ribs, forcing the breath out of him. "Stop!" I cried, voice breaking. "Both of you, stop!" But neither stopped. The woman watched with a cold, almost bored detachment, as if she'd seen 100 men destroy themselves over less. "This is what greed looks like," she murmured. Grant roared, fueled by panic. "She can't see those papers. If she reads them, she'll know everything, everything!" His voice cracked on the last word. Landon pinned him again, forearm pressing him against the Bentley. "She deserves to know." "She deserves to die," Grant spat back. Landon's face hardened. "Wrong answer." He slammed Grant's hand against the hood, forcing him to drop the gun he'd somehow gotten hold of. It skittered across the concrete, stopping inches from my boot. My knees wobbled. Grant gasped for air, chest heaving. "You don't understand. If she reads that, everything I've built collapses. I lose the company, the IPO, the board, my life." "The life you built on fraud?" the woman asked sharply. "On her father's death?" Grant froze. That single hesitation said more than any confession. I bent down, hands shaking uncontrollably, and picked up the envelope before he could. Grant saw. His face twisted with pure terror. "Avery," he begged, voice turning shrill, almost childlike. Don't read that." But Landon shoved him back, and for the first time since the night began, Grant looked genuinely afraid. My fingers trembled as I slipped a hand beneath the flap of the envelope. The paper inside felt old, almost brittle, like it had been waiting years, waiting for this moment. The tunnel air thickened with the kind of silence that only comes before a storm breaks. Grant thrashed under Landon's grip, wild-eyed, sweat and blood streaking his face. "Avery, listen to me. Don't open it. You don't understand what's in there." My voice came out small but steady. "I'm done not understanding." The woman nodded in approval. "Good." I pulled out the first page. A hospital form. My father's name at the top. My breath stopped. Landon stayed close, not touching me, but ready to catch me if my knees gave out. Even after everything, after the accident revelation, his presence radiated something I wasn't ready to name. I scanned the page. Words blurred, then focused, then punched the air out of my lungs. Victim states prior knowledge, intentional tampering of brakes, suspect's embezzlement across Whitmore Holdings. My throat closed. No, this can't. I flipped to the second page, a paramedic's handwritten note. Victim requests recorded testimony. Final statement, protect Avery. They will come for her. Tell her I'm sorry. The ground swayed beneath me. My father's handwriting, the loops, the slant, twisted my chest with a grief I thought I'd buried years ago. Grant screamed, voice cracking. "Stop reading!" Landon slammed him back against the Bentley hood. "Let her finish!" Tears blurred my vision again as I unfolded the last page, an official financial report. Evidence of fraud, embezzlement, missing funds, all traced back to Grant Whitmore. My stomach turned. You destroyed my family." Grant's face transformed. No more rage, just raw desperation. "Avery, listen. I didn't start it. I only continued what others began. I had no choice." "You had every choice," I whispered. He stumbled over his words, choking. I loved you." You paid strangers to kill me, I said quietly. The truth tasted bitter, final. That's not love. Grant's breaths turned shallow, hysterical. If you turn that in, I lose everything. I lose the company, the IPO. The board will ruin me. Good, the woman said coolly. Landon stepped closer to me, voice low, steady. Avery, what do you want to do? The envelope crinkled in my fist. I lifted my head, tears drying into resolve. I want the world to know exactly who he is. Grant screamed, a broken animal sound. And above us, sirens wailed in the distance. The sirens grew louder, rising, converging, sealing every exit to the tunnel. Blue and red lights began to flicker against the concrete walls, reflections trembling, like the heartbeat I thought might give out at any second. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt steady. Landon released Grant only when multiple voices shouted, NYPD! Hands where we can see them! Officers poured into the tunnel, guns raised, forming a tight perimeter. The scarred man lifted his hands, stepping back immediately. The woman did the same, calm, collected, untouched by fear. Grant, however, collapsed to his knees. No, no! He shouted, scrambling toward me. Avery, you can't let them take me. You need me. Your family name needs me. Your future needs me. I did it all for us. For us? My voice came out cold, sharper than I'd ever heard it. You tried to kill me. He froze. And you destroyed my family, I added. You destroyed everything. Officers surged toward him, locking his wrists in cuffs, forcing him face down onto the pavement. Grant thrashed like a child, screaming as the truth finally swallowed him. I made you, he howled. You're nothing without me. I stepped forward. The officers allowed it. For one last moment, I looked at the man I once believed would be my husband. No, I said softly. You were the one who was nothing without me. Grant's scream was swallowed by the tunnel as the officers dragged him toward the patrol cars waiting outside. The woman approached me then, her expression no longer sharp, almost respectful. Your father would be proud, she said quietly. This ends where it should have ended 17 years ago. I clutched the envelope to my chest. Thank you, she nodded once. Use that wisely, Avery. Your family's legacy is yours now. Then she walked away into the flashing lights, disappearing like a ghost who had finally finished her unfinished business. The scarred man approached awkwardly. For what it's worth, I'm glad you made it. Thank you, I whispered. Landon finally stepped beside me, his eyes searching mine with guilt, pain, and something deeper, something gentle. I thought I lost you, he murmured. You didn't, I whispered. Not this time. He hesitated. Avery, can you ever forgive me? I took his hand. I already have. His breath caught, a quiet sound of relief. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten, the first pale hint of dawn pushing through the snow. A new day, a new life. And for the first time in years, my heart beat without fear. All right, the story has reached its final page, but you and we're still here together. And if you're truly still here, listening to these last words, then I know one thing for sure. Something in Avery's journey touched your heart in a way you can feel, but maybe can't explain. So let's talk, you and just like two people sitting across from each other at the end of a long night. Avery's story reminds us of something deeply human. We all carry wounds we didn't choose, betrayals we didn't deserve, and truths we weren't ready to hear. But as the Stoics often said, the obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius wrote that every hardship carries a seed for strength, and Avery proved that. She walked through fear, heartbreak, and deception, not to become harder, but to become whole. Life will give you people like Grant who try to break you, and people like Landon who try to repair what they once damaged. It will give you nights that feel endless, and dawns that feel like rebirth. If Avery's fight for truth, dignity, and healing stirred something in you, then maybe it's your turn now. Your turn to rise. Your turn to protect your own heart. Your turn to choose the life you deserve. And if this story held your hand even for a moment, then don't leave quietly. Leave a mark. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs courage today. And subscribe so you and I can keep walking through these stories and these truths together. You matter. Your story matters. And your dawn is coming.